Hey guys, welcome back to more AFK Arena. In today's video, we're doing some testing of the new Celestial Chad. That's what I'm calling him from now on. It's just easier. First impressions, this is on my free-to-play account. Now, if we look at my free-to-play account where we're at about 182 level deficit. But you know, our power deficit, like when we're looking at something like this, is about 10x. So that gives you a rough gauge. We're obviously only 182 levels, but you know, we don't have everything maxed out. We're not quite Janet because it is a free-to-play account, and I've been quite impressed. Now, it's still very early days. I'm definitely keen to get him on global server and test him on Chiasma, but the things that I'm noticing with him is that the main thing is if he can get around to getting an ult, he can actually do pretty well. And if you have enemies grouped, it's even better. He has an incredibly high uptime of his 6-second stun. It's actually like ridiculous how long this thing lasts and like how quickly he reapplies it. And I think that's where some real benefit is going to be. On top of that, you know, obviously the fact that he can buff his teammates very strong at the start of the battle. And then if you do have healing and you can keep healing him past that point, it seems like you can maintain those buff effects. Now, something I was experimenting with is the portal party, just the fact of grouping enemies up, and then his stun combined with the stun from Odin and Pippa, like just to basically just lock out a team. Now, it's not perfect, but I did want to show you guys something first before we get into it to show you the stun uptime that I'm talking about, because it's quite ridiculous. I ended up getting into a 1v1 against Cirrus, and it was just a perfect setting to see how good his stun is for an uptime, because it was just a 1v1. So I'm going to jump over there and I'll show you guys that one. So if we jump over here, you can check this battle, and basically you can see that Odin is going to die to the Wukong. He's going to go ahead and kill the rest of the team, and now we're on to just this Cirrus. So what I want to look at is just the uptime of the stun. So it's off now. If we just go back a little bit, so we go back to like 38 seconds, it's still there. 37 seconds, you can still see the stun on the Cirrus head. That's at 37. 36, it's gone. And 35, it is back up. So it's like a 1 to 2 second downtime that you don't have that stun. It's actually quite ridiculous, and like his energy regeneration, as long as he's not getting controlled, is just huge, and he basically has no trouble. If you look at his energy in this clip, like he's never running out of energy, and he's just doing his burst every time. It's quite nuts, and that stun uptime is just huge. As you can see, it's always like 1 second where it's off, but like I was just quite amazed at that. So I just thought this was like the perfect way to show you that it's like a 1 to 2 second on the clock uptime, like downtime for that stun. So you basically have 6 seconds of stun, and then like 1 to 2 seconds of no stun, which is pretty decent in my opinion. And he survives pretty decently once he's got it up. Now, once again, that's at this deficit that we're at. So take that with a grain of salt, but just something that I found very interesting, and think he's like not too bad from that. Like I said, once again, we want to try him on Chiasma and try a bit more, but it's not too bad. Now, in something like this is something that I've just been experimenting with. Like I said, I like the idea of the portal party in there, and what you aim to do in this one is to group them up and then chain the stuns. Now, we've lost the Pippa, so we're probably going to die here. I have tried this one a couple times, and I might just try this through a couple more times just to show you the damage he can do compared to an Odin. Now, I know Odin's not the greatest damage dealer in the game or anything like that, but Odin does do a fair decent chunk of damage, and if we can get a battle where they both survive, we may not kill the may not be able to kill the Cirrus, but I just wanted to show you some damage comparisons. Now, once again, it's going to take a couple tries because, you know, RNG's a bitch basically, but I just want to see if we can get one. I'll be back in a sec because I want to show you the kind of damage comparison between these two. Like I said, it's not the perfect world. Obviously, we're fighting a Cirrus who's going to be wilder, so you know there's that. But they both do decent AOE, and they both shine in the similar situations. So I feel like this type of fight, even when you're down to 1 unit, it just shows them on a fair comparison. So I'll be back in a sec and I'll get you a replay. Okay, so there you go. There's the sort of example I was looking for. We did get timed out again against that Cirrus dude's tanky. So obviously we're not using like a top tier damage dealer, but Odin still does decent, and considering this guy's control along with his, support for the team and stuff like that. If he can deal this kind of damage, it's actually quite promising in my opinion. Now, this is a very specific fight, so we got to do a lot more testing. There's some other teams that I want to test, but I don't have the heroes on this account, so we will get into that. But it's just something interesting to look at that compared to an Odin, who does normally do some pretty decent damage, he is doing not too bad compared to that, considering he's not meant to be like just a primary damage dealer in his role. So I thought that was a bit interesting to look at, just to show you guys basically what the fight was. It was basically just grouping up, so they're both getting the benefit of the AoE damage during the AoE phase of it, because Odin's got all his portals hitting everyone, and he's obviously cleaving pretty hard as well. And then we get down to just the Cirrus, and that's where it just becomes, tedious Cirrus type stuff until we get timed out, and that's pretty much it. But that's a basic look at it. Now, if the other type of team that I was looking at, because it's a bit obvious, but it's one that you can't help but think Ulna, because of the way this guy really wants to get towards an ultimate. You think Ulna is going to be great for that. So I was playing around with something like this, and we were using the Scarlet, something like this. The idea was to give Scarlet those buffs, hopefully get a really quick buff from the Mortis, and then let Scarlet just like nuke everything, and then Odin's in there just because Odin's a beast, and that's pretty much the idea. So like this was another idea that I was playing with, and the Mortis died instantly there to the Euron, which kind of sucks, but you get the idea of what we're aiming for in this one. But that just didn't quite work out. But as you can see, like he's surviving pretty decent against like a team of 3 or 4 units that were still alive, which is quite respectable. Oh, I tell you what, if that didn't get her, then we might have been close to it. This Wukong may be an issue. No, there we go. Okay, like I said, it's quite promising. Like, I'm not saying he's crazy. We are not at the biggest deficit, but it's quite interesting. Now, obviously, Scarlet more of a main damage dealer. I would like to I want to try and get that fight again, where Scarlet doesn't die, just to compare the damage at the end of it. What is going on with my hello? I'll be back in a sec. Okay, sorry about that. The emulator decided to absolutely shit itself. But yeah, I'd love to see that team where Scarlet actually survives to the end, to see the damage difference. Which I'm tipping Scarlet will be at least double his damage, but it's just something I'm really curious to see. So we did get Mortis buffs on that one. Unfortunately, Mortis buffing the Odin first, and then dropping off. Odin's too powerful, I guess. But these things happen. But let's just see. Hopefully we can get this one. Everyone survives to the end, and then we can really see some damage numbers, because I'm really curious on it. But yeah, obviously, like, Ulna's obviously going to be great for him because he really shines after his ult. Keeping in mind, we don't have an artifact on him. He is a tank, so he doesn't get the tank artifacts, but we don't have an artifact on him in this one. So let's check the damage difference. Like, that is respectable in my opinion. I feel like that is some pretty decent damage that he's bringing to the table there. And like, I'm quite happy with his damage output. Like his damage output, along with what else he brings to the team, being the buffs and also the CC, and like I said, that uptime is really solid. I'm quite impressed. You guys let me know what you think, and what other things you guys want me to test. But like, first impressions, I'm really liking it. Now, obviously, his buff is going to be most potent at the start of the battle. When we look at this one here, where his allies get this, and he starts the battle with the extra HP, and then he basically gives them a 50% attack. He does also give the max health and dodge. So like, I don't know if like this becomes like, maybe you bring him with dodge tanks early on and like try and dodge it. Now at higher deficits, I just don't think that becomes a thing, but at certain deficits, I feel like him with dodge tanks could be like a play. But yeah, I don't know who would be. I feel like Awakened Thane. I feel like him in an Awakened Thane team would be insane for enabling that. Just because Awakened Thane's basically, in the first 10 seconds of battle, you're winning or you're dead. And I feel like him supporting an Awakened Thane would be quite decent. Now you'd have to play it so that like he survives the initial bout, but that's definitely something I want to test deeper on Kiasma when we get into it, at like especially the campaign deficits that Kiasma's at, which are like pretty much max deficits. Like I would love to test that. I think it could be like a cool little synergy. I don't know if it'll be enough to make Awakened Thane a solid carry for it, but he's probably still going to be used as a supportive role, but I'm keen to see. Outside of that, I thought about, you know, like obviously Raku comes to mind. I was trying to think of like a wilder type team with like maybe Pippa for grouping up and then him as well. I was trying to avoid the chicken and then, you know, bringing the Raku, but I just couldn't quite get the team together that I think would quite be right for it. So the idea would be to bring Raku. Maybe like a Mishka, but this team doesn't have enough. I feel like you need too many additional things to bring into the team to get it there. But let's just see. I think he's gonna. Yeah, I mean, what's the last one to survive? Yeah, the team's just gonna drop too quick. Yeah, just maybe against. Let's try it against a different lineup quickly. Let's go against this. We do have the Odin in there, the Keltha. Yeah, it's not gonna work against this at all. Not going to work against that. But yeah, that was something else I was trying to think of, like a way to group enemies up for him and then just let Raku shred was the idea. Honestly, that kind of came close. Like that was over super quick, but we did decently. Obviously, the Mishka providing those stuns. And then he ults there. So he takes too long for the Raku. I feel like he maybe takes a little bit too long to get there. But once again, this is showing like he can actually tank pretty decently. And do okay in that sense. That was actually quite insane. Dude, that Raku damage is nuts. Like that early burst from Raku is insane. So Raku absolutely topping it with that max HP scaling, but you get the idea. That's something else I was thinking, just to be able to like chain that along. But he takes too long to get there for the stunning factor. I'm just trying to think of anything else that we can use. Maybe in like more bursty comps, 5 pulls sort of faded. Maybe in a Lucretia comp, something like that to get the attack up. I'm trying to think of other units that are just like early quick burst team dead. But nothing springs to mind. Like I said, Awakened Thane just seems like the perfect one in my mind when I think about it. But I'll definitely go deeper. And let me know in the comments if you guys think of anything else. But that was the initial testing for him. Like I said, I'm quite impressed at this stage. But we definitely didn't need to do more. But let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.